The night was quiet in the deep forest. The sky was full of stars, and the moonlight gently touched the tall trees. Birds were sleeping, and the wind moved softly between the leaves. Everything felt peaceful, until the sky screamed. A bright light shot across the sky like fire. It wasn't a star. It was something else, something fast, hot, and angry. It crashed into the forest with a loud boom. The ground shook. Birds flew away in fear. Trees caught fire near the crash. Smoke rose high into the night. John, a lonely man in his 40s, heard the crash from his small wooden cabin. He lived alone, far from the city, deep in the woods. He had once been a soldier, but now he only wanted peace. Still, his instincts were sharp. He grabbed his flashlight and rifle and went out. As he walked toward the smoke, the air smelled like burning metal. The ground was hot. He found a deep hole where the object had fallen. Pieces of strange metal were everywhere. It was not a plane. It was something else, something from the stars. In the middle of the crash, he saw her, a girl, or maybe not a girl. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly. Her eyes were closed, her body covered in cuts and burns. She wore a strange black suit, now torn. Sharp claws were on her fingers. Her face was young but fierce, like a wild cat. She looked like she had fought a war and lost. John stood still. His heart beat fast. She didn't move. Was she dead? He stepped closer. Suddenly, her eyes opened, bright silver like moonlight. She growled and tried to stand, but her leg was bleeding badly. She raised one hand, ready to attack. Her voice was weak but sharp. Stay back, human. John didn't move. He saw fear in her eyes, mixed with pain. I'm not here to hurt you, he said slowly, calmly. She didn't answer. Her body trembled. Her strength was fading. John looked around. Fire was spreading. If she stayed here, she would die. He couldn't leave her. He dropped his rifle and held out his hands. Let me help you, he said. She didn't speak, but her claws lowered. And then she collapsed. Back in his cabin, John placed her gently on his old bed. He cleaned her wounds with warm water and soft cloth. She was burning with fever. Her blood was dark purple. He didn't understand what kind of being she was, but she was alive and scared. Hours passed. She didn't wake up. John sat nearby, watching her. He remembered the wars he fought, the pain, the faces of people he couldn't save. This time, he wanted to save someone, even if she came from the stars. The next morning, she opened her eyes again. Her breathing was slow. Her wounds were still fresh. Where am I? She asked. My cabin, John said. You crashed. I brought you here. She looked around, confused. Everything was strange to her. The bed, the fireplace, the books, the photos. Her eyes stopped at John's face. Why did you help me? John shrugged. You needed help. I'm not like you. I noticed. John smiled a little. But you still bleed. You still feel pain. That's enough. She didn't smile. She looked away. Her body was weak, but her spirit was strong. She didn't trust him yet. What's your name? He asked. She was silent. Can I call you something? More silence. He thought for a moment. How about Rin? It means cold, but strong in an old language. She didn't answer, but her eyes didn't say no. John stood up. You need food. I'll bring you some soup. As he walked toward the kitchen, she slowly sat up. Every part of her body hurt, but inside, she felt something strange. This human, he was kind. Not like the stories she was told. She touched the soft blanket covering her. It was warm. It smelled like smoke and old books. She whispered to herself, why didn't he kill me? Then suddenly, her sharp ears heard something. Footsteps returning. John came back, holding a bowl of soup. Before he could speak, she grabbed his arm fast, strong and quick like a panther. Don't touch me, human, she said with cold eyes. John didn't pull away. He looked into her eyes calmly. I'm not your enemy. For a moment, time stood still. The fire cracked in the background. Outside, the forest was silent again. But inside the cabin, a storm was just beginning. Rin sat quietly on the edge of the bed, her sharp eyes watching every move John made. Her body still ached, but her mind was alert, trained to read danger. The soft blanket covered her legs, and a strange wooden smell filled the room. Everything was unfamiliar. Everything felt wrong. She was in a human place, and she hated humans. John walked slowly to the table and placed the bowl of soup down. It's not poisoned, he said with a tired smile. Just chicken and vegetables. Rin didn't reply. Her fingers stayed curled around the edge of the blanket, claws ready to strike. Her eyes followed him like a hunter watching prey. You don't have to eat if you don't want to, he said, sitting in the old chair by the fireplace. But you should. The fire crackled softly. Outside, snow had started falling. It painted the trees white and covered the world in silence. Inside, two strangers sat, one from Earth, one from the stars. Rin slowly turned her head to look around the cabin. The walls were filled with old books, photos of people she didn't know, and maps. There were tools, wires, weapons too, but dusty and untouched. You live alone? She asked suddenly. John nodded. Yeah, for a long time now. Why? I was tired of people, he said. Tired of war. Tired of pretending I was okay, she frowned. Humans started the war on my planet. John looked up. Your planet? Yes, she said. You call it Xyrantha. Your army came. You destroyed cities. You killed innocents. John's face tightened. He looked into the fire. I didn't go there, he said slowly. But I've done bad things in other wars. I know how it feels to lose people. To lose trust. Rin's voice turned cold. You say kind words, but your kind burns worlds. Silence again. Rin's hand went to the side of her stomach, the place where her wound still throbbed. The bandage was clean and soft. Human hands had touched her, healed her. But the stories said humans didn't heal aliens. They hunted them. Why? Was this one different? She reached for the soup but stopped. Her pride didn't want to accept help, but her body was hungry. Slowly, carefully, she took a small sip. It was warm, salty, strange, but good. John noticed but didn't comment. He simply watched the fire and let her eat in peace. After a few minutes, Rin broke the silence again. You're not afraid of me? John shook his head. No. Why not? Because I've seen real monsters, he said. You're not one of them. That answer made her pause. She looked at him differently now. Not with trust, not yet, but with less hatred. I don't understand you, she said. You should have left me to die. John gave a short laugh. Maybe, but something in me said not to. You crashed near my home. Maybe fate brought you here. I don't believe in fate. Me neither, he said, until now. That night, after John went to sleep on the old couch, Rin walked quietly around the cabin. Her legs were weak, but her mind needed answers. She opened drawers, scanned books, touched the photo frames. One picture showed John in a military uniform. He was smiling with other soldiers. One of them looked like his brother, but they were gone now. Dead, maybe. She found a box under the bed. Inside were medals, old letters, and one silver necklace, shaped like a dog tag. She picked it up and read the name, John M. Carter, Earth Forces, retired. Her claws closed around the necklace tightly. So he was one of them, a soldier. Just like the ones who attacked her home. He had blood on his hands too, but he saved her. Why? She stood still in the darkness, feeling lost. On her planet, things were simple. Humans were the enemy. They came with guns, ships, and fire. They didn't ask questions. They didn't save the wounded. But here, in this small wooden house on a frozen world, a human soldier cooked soup for her and gave her his bed. In the morning, she didn't speak much. John gave her a coat and some boots. They were too big, but they kept her warm. She followed him outside, slowly. Her legs were healing, but she couldn't walk far. The forest was quiet under the snow. White mist floated in the air. "Why do you live here?" she asked again, softer this time. John looked around. "Because out here, no one tells me who to fight. No orders. No noise, just peace. And loneliness?" He smiled sadly. "That too." She looked at the sky. "Your people will come for me. Or maybe mine will. Are they like you?" "No," she said. "They're worse." John didn't ask more. They stood in silence, snow falling around them. Two broken warriors from different worlds. That night, Rin sat near the fire, staring into the flames. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "My real name is not Rin." John looked at her with surprise. She didn't share her true name, not yet. But it was a start. "I was trained to fight humans. Since I was a child," she said. "They told me you were cruel, cold, and evil. And now? I don't know," she whispered. "Maybe the stories were wrong, or maybe you're the only exception." John leaned back. "Maybe we both." Ah. But far away, in the shadows of space, something was watching. A small blinking light on a broken device near the crash site had turned green. A signal had been sent. Someone or something was coming. And Rin's quiet days in the cabin were about to end. Rin had always believed kindness was a weakness, a trick used by enemies to lower your guard before striking. On her planet, the weak were left behind. Mercy was a word used in fairy tales, not battlefields, but now lying on a soft bed inside. A quiet human cabin, wrapped in warmth she didn't ask for. She started to question everything. John was in the kitchen, humming a tune while heating something on the stove. The smell was strange but comforting. Rin sat on the floor beside the fireplace, her back straight, her claws resting on her lap. She watched him like a silent shadow. "You hum a lot," she said suddenly. John looked back with a smile. "It keeps the silence away." "Silence is not the enemy," she replied. "Maybe not for you," he said, stirring the pot. "But for me, sometimes it's louder than war." His words hung in the air like smoke. Rin didn't answer. But inside her, something shifted. This man had pain buried deep. Not on his body, but in his soul. He brought her a bowl of warm stew and sat across from her on the old wooden floor. She took the bowl without thanks, but he didn't seem to expect one. They ate in silence. Then, after a few minutes, Rin asked, "Why are you helping me?" John looked at her. His face was calm, but his eyes held memories of battles and brothers. "Lost, because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it," he said. "Maybe I'm just returning the favor." "Your people killed mine." "My people also kill each other," he replied. "We're not as united as we pretend to be." She looked at the fire, the flames dancing in her silver eyes. "I was taught that humans are greedy, violent, monsters." John took a sip of his tea. "Some are, but you're not." "I used to be," he admitted. "War makes monsters out of men. Now I'm trying to be human again." Later that day, while John chopped wood outside, Rin explored the cabin more freely. Her steps were quiet, her instincts alert. She scanned every detail like a soldier inspecting enemy territory. She found a small room, half workshop, half memory box. Old radios, tools, wires, and photos. So many photos. One showed a woman and a little boy laughing beside a river. Other showed John in uniform, younger, prouder, standing with a team of soldiers. All smiling, all probably dead. She touched the frame with 2 fingers, then pulled her hand back quickly, as if it burned her. That night, she asked him, "What happened to them?" John didn't need to ask who. He simply nodded toward the photo. "Gone. War. Some to enemy fire, some to guilt. I survived. Not sure why. You feel guilt? Every day, he said. Some nights, I still hear their voices. And yet you helped me. Maybe because I couldn't help them. Rin fell silent again. Her claws softly tapped against the wooden armrest. I don't trust you, she said finally. That's fair, John replied. But I'm still here. As days passed, Rin's wounds began to heal. Her steps grew stronger. She started walking outside, wrapped in a thick coat and scarf. She hated the cold, but the forest had a peace that reminded her of the mountains. On her planet, one morning she followed a squirrel for half an hour, fascinated by its speed and lack of fear. She even smiled. John noticed. You're not as cold as you act, he said. She scowled. Don't mistake curiosity for softness. He laughed. I didn't say soft. I said curious. Big difference. That evening, while Rin was sharpening a broken blade she had found, she asked a question that surprised even herself. Do you have enemies? John raised an eyebrow. Plenty. Why? If someone came here to hurt you, would you fight back? I would try to talk first, he said. But if that fails, yes. Even after all this peace? I don't want to fight again, he said. But I'm not foolish enough to believe peace lasts forever. Rin thought about that. On my world, peace is only the time between two wars. John looked at her for a long moment. That's a sad way to live. That's the only way. I know. But something she didn't know, couldn't know, was already moving in the sky. Far beyond Earth. Her broken communicator had done its job. A signal had been sent, and it had been heard. In deep space, a ship changed direction. Black as shadow, fast as lightning. It was her kind, and they were coming to find her. Not to rescue, but to silence. Meanwhile, John was fixing an old radio on his desk when Rin walked in holding the cracked device she had secretly recovered from the crash site. You built this? She asked. He looked up. No, it's military tech. Damaged beyond repair. I activated it, she said flatly. John froze. You what? 2 nights ago. I was angry. I wanted to go home. I didn't know it would work. John put the radio down slowly. Then someone might be coming. Maybe. He stared at her. And what happens if they find us? They will try to extract me, she said. That's it. She looked away. They may destroy the area. To keep your people from studying the crash. John stood up, his voice calm but firm. Then we prepare. For what? For whoever comes, human or not. She looked at him, studying his face, not for weakness but for answers. You don't hate me for this? John shook his head. No, but I hope when the time comes, you'll choose the right side. She didn't reply, but for the first time, she hoped so too. The snow had stopped falling, but the cold air still wrapped the forest in silence. Rin stood near the window of John's cabin, her sharp eyes fixed on the gray sky. She had felt it all morning, a strange pressure in the air, like a storm was coming. But this wasn't just weather. This was something else. Something familiar. She wasn't sure if it was instinct or fear. Behind her, John was checking his old weapons. His movements were slow but practiced. He hadn't touched a rifle in years, but now his fingers moved with the calm of a soldier who knew what was coming. Do you feel it too? Rin asked. Without turning. John didn't look up. Yes, something's not right. They're coming. John stopped, then nodded once. Your people? Most likely. If the signal reached them, they won't wait long. And they'll land here? Not just land, she said. They'll erase this place from the map. John placed a bullet into the chamber and clicked it shut. Good thing we're not on the map. Rin turned to him. You're calm. I've faced worse. Not like this. John gave a soft smile. I've never faced someone like you either. Rin didn't smile back. Her heart was heavy. She didn't want this man this strange, kind human, to suffer because of her. She had brought danger into his peaceful life, and now it was too late to take it back. That evening, they sat at the dinner table in silence. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. The fire burned low. John finally spoke. "If they come, will they try to kill me?" Rin stared at her bowl, untouched. "They'll see you as a threat. A witness. You helped an enemy. You broke their rules. So, yes. Yes." John leaned back in his chair. "Then we make a plan. There's no winning against them," she said. "They're stronger, smarter. They don't care about diplomacy. Then we don't fight their way," he replied. "We fight ours." That night, Rin couldn't sleep. She sat outside on the porch, wrapped in John's coat, her feet on the cold wooden floor. She looked at the stars, the same stars she had seen all her life from a different sky. She thought of her people, her commanders, her training. And the lies. They told her humans were animals. But here she was, cared for, protected by a man who once wore the same uniform as the monsters in her nightmares. Her eyes burned, but she didn't cry. She never had, but tonight she wanted to. At dawn, John climbed the hill behind his cabin with binoculars. He scanned the horizon. Snow-covered trees, frozen lake, quiet skies. Until he saw it. A shadow moving behind clouds, fast. Too smooth to be human. Then, a flash of metal. A ship, black and quiet. Like a ghost. He ran back to the cabin. "They're here." Rin stood already dressed, her armor repaired with earth tools. Her eyes were sharp. "No fear now, only duty. They'll scan the forest first," she said. "Then they'll come to eliminate the source of the signal." "You," John said. "And now you too," she added. He gave a small smirk. "We're famous now. They set traps, low-tech ones. Tripwires, signal jammers, and hidden mines. Made from old parts." Rin was impressed. John had more military knowledge than she had guessed. "You were more dangerous than I thought," she said while hiding a motion sensor. John chuckled. "And you were more human than I thought." She paused at that, not sure whether to feel insulted or seen. Afternoon faded to evening. Then they heard it, a deep hum in the air, like a whisper vibrating through the ground. The sky darkened as the enemy ship appeared overhead, sleek, black, and without lights. It didn't make noise like Earth helicopters. It moved like a predator. Rin's breath caught. "They sent the hunters." John raised his rifle. "You know them?" "They're not soldiers. They read cleaners. They erase evidence, destroy witnesses, even their own." John looked at her. "So they're coming to kill you too?" She nodded slowly. "If I resist, yes. And if you surrender, they'll make me disappear. No questions, no mercy." John took a deep breath. "Then let's not let them choose." The ship hovered over the trees. A ramp opened. Figures dropped silently onto the snow, tall, armored, faceless. Their suits shimmered like liquid metal. Guns in hand. Movements smooth, calculated. They began scanning. Rin, and John watched from behind a fallen log, hidden in the trees. "We can't fight them head on," Rin whispered. "We don't," John said. "We slow them down, confuse them, make them split up." She looked at him. "You've done this before?" "Too many times." One hunter stepped on a tripwire. A small explosion threw him off balance. The others turned sharply, scanning the area. "Go now," John whispered. "To the back path. I'll lead them away." "No," Rin hissed. "They want me. I won't let you die for me." John looked into her glowing eyes. "Rin, I'm not dying for you. I'm fighting with you." She stared back. Her hands trembled. Then she nodded. They moved fast, like ghosts in the forest. John opened fire from one direction, Rin from the other. Their attacks didn't kill, but they slowed. Distracted. They led the hunters away from the cabin. Away from the radio. Away from the signal. Explosions lit the snow. Shadows danced between trees. And in the chaos. They disappeared. Later, far from the cabin, hiding inside a deep cave, Rin wrapped John's bleeding arm. He winced. They shot. Better than I remember. You're lucky, she muttered. They shoot to kill, John smiled. Guess I'm hard to kill. Rin tied the cloth tighter, then sat beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she whispered, You risked everything. So. Did you? He said. Why? He looked at her, really looked. Because you're not a weapon anymore, Rin. You're more than what they made you. She turned away, her heart loud in her chest. Then maybe I don't want to be like them anymore. Above them, the ship scanned the forest. The hunters searched. But the signal was gone. The trail lost. For now, the forest was no longer silent. Smoke floated above the trees. Snow was stained with black ash and purple blood. The crash site had become a battleground, but now, it was empty. The hunters had searched for hours, but their target, Rin, was gone, and they were not happy. Deep inside a cold mountain cave, John sat on a rock, breathing heavily. His left arm was wrapped in cloth, soaked in his own blood. His face was pale, but calm. Beside him, Rin worked quickly, her hands steady as she cleaned the wound. Her face showed no emotion, but inside, a storm raged. You should have stayed. In the cabin, she said. You sound like someone's mom. John muttered. I sound like someone who didn't want to watch you bleed today. She replied sharply. He chuckled, even in pain. Well, I didn't plan to get shot. Rin didn't smile. Her silver eyes stayed locked on the cut. She tied the final knot of the bandage and sat back. You're lucky. The shot missed your artery. John sighed. I'd call it skill. She looked away. I'd call it stupid. He watched her. You care. She didn't answer. Instead, she stood and walked to the mouth of the cave. From the high cliff, she could see the forest below. The sky was turning red, the beginning of sunset. And in the distance, the ship still hovered. They're not leaving, she said softly. They know you're alive. Yes, and they know I've betrayed them now. She crossed her arms tightly over her chest. I broke the code. I shared food with a human. I didn't report my position. I defended you. John stood beside her, wincing as his arm throbbed. You chose to defend me. She shook her head. They'll kill me for that. Then let them try, he said. She turned to him, surprised. John looked out at the red sky. I may not be a soldier anymore, Rin, but I remember what it means to stand for something. And right now, I stand with you. Rin stared at him, the man who should have been her enemy. The man who now called himself her shield. Something warm stirred in her chest. A feeling she didn't know how to name. That night while John slept, Rin sat near a small fire inside the cave, lost in thought. Her communicator, once hidden in her armor, blinked softly in her hand. She turned it on. A low voice spoke in her native tongue. Rin Velthara, you are marked rogue. Extraction order is cancelled. Termination protocol active. She didn't flinch. Last chance to redeem yourself. Kill the human. Return to the signal point, or be destroyed. She turned it off and crushed the device under her boot. By morning, John was awake, sitting by the fire with a cup of hot tea made from forest herbs. Rin handed him some dried fruit and sat across from him. We can't keep running, she said. I agree. They will track us day and night. I know. So we make a final stand. John raised an eyebrow. You're suggesting we fight an elite alien kill squad with a hunting rifle and homemade traps? She smiled faintly, a rare, strange thing on her face. I've seen you fight. You're stubborn enough to make it work. He grinned. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. They returned to the cabin, under the cover of trees and fog. The place was half destroyed. The front wall burned, windows shattered. But the underground storage room was untouched. It became their base. John repaired the weapons. Rin reprogrammed a broken scanner to detect cloaked movements. For the first time in her life, she was preparing to defend something, not out of duty, but out of choice. 3 nights later, the final message came. A hunter drone landed silently on the cabin roof and projected a voice inside. Rin Velthara, surrender now, final warning. She stepped outside, standing tall in the moonlight, her armor pieced together from scraps of human tech and alien design. Her silver eyes glowed. "I'm not yours anymore," she said. The drone buzzed once, then exploded. At dawn, the forest filled with smoke again. 4 hunters descended through the trees, silent, deadly cold. John and Rin waited behind a wall of debris. Rin held a plasma blade, recharged from a car battery. John held a shotgun loaded with metal fragments and nails. "Still with me?" she asked. "Till the end," he replied. The first hunter walked into a trap. A pressure plate hidden under snow. An EMP blast fried its sensors, and Rin jumped out, slashing its armor open with a scream. Another hunter shot at her, but John's rifle barked, the bullet hitting its arm and throwing off its aim. The battle was fast, brutal, dirty. Rin moved like a blur, jumping, dodging, slashing. John moved slower but smarter, firing from angles, using smoke and noise to confuse. But the hunters were trained killers. One threw John against a wall. His shoulder cracked. Another cornered Rin in the kitchen. "You were our star," it said in her language. "You threw it all away. For this thing?" Rin gritted her teeth. "He showed me more humanity than any of you ever did." She drove the blade through its chest. Finally, only one remained. The leader, taller, smarter, deadlier. It had John pinned to the ground, claws to his throat. "You protect him?" it asked Rin. "You'll die for him?" Rin stepped forward, breathing hard, bleeding from her side. "No," she said, "I'll kill for him." She raised her weapon. But she didn't need to strike. John reached into his jacket and pressed a small switch. Grenade, hidden in the floor, exploded under the hunter. Fire. Smoke. Silence. When it cleared, the last hunter was gone. John lay on the ground, groaning. Ran to him, dropped to her knees. "You idiot," she said, voice shaking. "You could have died." He smiled weakly. "Was worth it." She held his head in her arms, her hands trembling now. "You're the worst human I've ever met." He laughed, softly. "But still your favorite?" She didn't answer, but she didn't let go. The ship left 2 days later. No more hunters came. The signal had died, and so had the war. Snow fell again. This time gently. It covered the broken cabin like a soft blanket, hiding the scars of battle under its cold silence. The forest was still, as if it too was trying to heal. Inside what was left of the cabin, Rin sat by the fireplace, or what remained of it, and watched the flames dance. John slept nearby, his shoulder wrapped in thick bandages. His face was calm now, not from peace, but from exhaustion. He had fought like a warrior, bled like a brother, and nearly died for her. She had always thought strength came from power, from fear, from being the last one standing. But now, sitting beside the one man who had protected her without reason, she realized something new. True strength came from choice. The battle with the hunters was over. The ship that brought them had vanished, slipping silently back into the stars. It hadn't bombed the forest. It hadn't sent more. Why? Because Rin had made her choice. And now, she was no longer a soldier of Zarintha. She was something else. Something in between. A creature once born for war, now searching for peace. John stirred, slowly opening his eyes. Rin leaned forward. "You're awake," he gave a tired smile. "Unless this is heaven." "You're not dead," she said dryly. "Unfortunately." He chuckled, then winced from the pain. "Good to know." Rin helped him sit up. Your shoulder will take time. Everything takes time, he replied, looking around the damaged cabin. Is it over? She nodded. For now. He met her eyes. And you, what now, Rin? She looked away. That was the question burning inside her every moment since the last hunter fell. What now? Later that day, she went to the edge of the frozen lake. The air was sharp, her breath turning to clouds. The reflection in the ice showed a face she barely recognized anymore. The same silver eyes. The same dark markings. The same alien skin, but behind the eyes. There was softness. There was doubt. She crouched and spoke softly to her reflection. Am I still a monster? A voice behind her replied. No, just someone trying to figure it out. She turned. John stood a few steps back, his coat pulled tight. You should be resting, she said. I've rested enough. He stepped closer. I know you're thinking of leaving, he said. She didn't deny it. My people will never stop looking for me, she said. They may send more hunters, or worse. You can fight them. I'm tired of fighting. Then, stay. She looked at him, her eyes wide. Stay? Here? On Earth? Yes, she hesitated. I don't belong here. John stepped even closer. You belong where you're free. You're not their weapon anymore. You've earned your right to choose. She turned back to the ice. Even if I stay, I'll always be hunted. Always looking over my shoulder. Then don't look over it alone. Rin didn't speak for a long time, but her heart, once made of steel, now beat quietly with something new. Hope. That evening, she sat at the table and opened a small recording device from her armor. It was her final link to Zarintha, her final chance to speak to them. She pressed record. Her voice was steady, calm. To the command circle of Zarintha. This is Rin Velthara. You may now call me a traitor, a deserter, or a coward. I accept all names, but I want you to hear this. I did not turn against you. You turned against me. You made me a weapon, not a person. You taught me to hate without question, to kill without pause. But now I've seen another path. A harder one, but better. I choose that path. If you come for me, I will not run, but I will not return either. I am done with war. I am not your weapon. I am Rin, just Rin, and this is goodbye. She ended the message and crushed the device. There would be no more contact, no more commands, no more chains. The next morning, snowflakes fell gently onto the roof as John sipped tea on the front porch. Rin joined him, sitting beside him quietly. You didn't sleep, he said. I made a decision. He turned his head. And? I'm staying. He didn't smile right away. He just nodded, accepting her choice with quiet respect. Good, he said. You make terrible tea, but you're pretty good company. She smirked. You talk too much, and your weapons are ancient. But I've had worse teammates. For the first time they both laughed. Not because of pain. Not from fear, but because something real had grown between them, something warm in the middle of winter. That afternoon, Rin helped John rebuild the walls of the cabin. She carried logs with one arm and balanced tools with her tail. She wasn't graceful yet, but she was learning. Later she asked about music. He showed her how to use a radio. She found an old rock station and nodded along to the beat. Then, she burned the last pieces of her battlesuit in the fire. It sizzled and cracked, the smell of the past rising like smoke. Week passed. The snow melted slowly. The sky grew brighter, and Rin, the fierce alien girl who once saw humans as monsters, now sat under the sun, feeding squirrels with John by her side. She still had nightmares. She still remembered the screams of her past, but now she had something else to remember. Kindness, laughter, a cabin in the woods, a man with a broken past who gave her a future. She once came to Earth like a falling star, burning, angry, ready to kill. Now she was just Rin. Not a soldier, not a monster. Just a girl with sharp claws, a gentle heart. And a choice. And she had made it. Asterisk, the forest was no longer a battlefield. It was alive with spring. The snow had melted, giving way to soft green grass, blooming wildflowers, and the hum of bees. The tall trees swayed gently in the breeze, and sunlight poured through their leaves like golden rain. In the middle of this peaceful place, the old cabin stood, repainted, and surrounded by a small garden that looked more like organized chaos than farming. And on the porch, with her feet on a wooden stool and a kitten sleeping in her lap, sat Rin. Not the fierce soldier, not the sharp-clawed killer, just Rin. John stepped out with 2 mugs of tea, his arm finally healed. He had trimmed his beard and wore an apron that read grumpy but kind, a gift from Rin, who didn't understand human humor, but loved how it made him groan. He handed her the tea. Careful. Still hot. Rin took it with both hands. I know. I helped you boil it, remember? John sat beside her. That doesn't mean you can't still spill it. I've only done that once, she muttered. He raised an eyebrow. 3 times. She admitted. The kitten purred in her lap, a tiny gray ball of fluff she had rescued from the forest weeks ago. She named it Blip. Why? Because it's small and annoying. But she secretly loved it. Life had changed, but not all at once. Rin still woke up from nightmares. Flashes of ships burning, friends screaming, commanders shouting. She would sit up, heart racing, claws extended. But John would knock gently on her door, hand her a blanket, and say nothing, and that was enough. She didn't need words anymore. She just needed to know someone was there. Rin had learned many things. How to fix fences. How to plant carrots, badly. How to hold a pencil properly. How to read English, she hated grammar rules. How to use a washing machine, she broke the first one. And how to cook. Somewhat. Her first attempt at soup nearly set the kitchen on fire. John still teased her about the gray disaster. But now she made eggs, toast, and even simple stew. It wasn't great, but it didn't try to kill anyone either. Progress. One morning, while gathering herbs near the river, she found a small satellite part, half buried in the mud. It blinked with a weak, red light. It was alien tech. Her people were still watching. She crushed it with a rock and let the pieces sink into the river. Then she looked at her reflection in the water. She touched her face, her sharp features, her strange, glowing eyes. Still not human, she whispered. But then she heard John's voice behind her. Maybe not. But you're home. She turned, surprised. You followed me? I got worried. You were gone for too long. She looked down. I found a tracker. John's face hardened. Are we in danger? No, she said. Not yet. But you're thinking of leaving again. She didn't answer. I can't stop you, he said. I won't try, but I hope you stay. Rin looked at him. He was no longer just the man who saved her. He was her friend. Her family, she had once been. Called a starborn weapon. A soldier of destruction. A beast of the void. But here, on this broken piece of earth, someone called her home. That meant something. That changed everything. Back at the cabin, John handed her a small wooden box. She opened it slowly. Inside was a necklace, a simple pendant with a tiny blue stone. Rin frowned. What is it? A gift, he said, for choosing your own path. She ran a finger over the stone. It's just a rock. Yes, he smiled. But now it means something. Because it's yours. She closed the box gently and held it against her chest. Then, without thinking, she leaned forward and hugged him. John froze for half a second, then returned the hug. Careful not to crush Blip the kitten, who had jumped into Rin's hood and was now meowing in confusion. Time passed. The garden grew. Rin learned to ride a bicycle and crashed into a tree. She tried dancing, awkward but fun. She painted the cabin walls with strange symbols from her planet. She even helped fix an old truck with John, though she thought it was slow and stupid. John started calling her Kitten as a joke. You used to hiss, bite, and hide in corners. Now you sleep in the sun and stretch like a cat. Rin pretended to hate the name, but she didn't single quotes T'd that one night. While watching the stars, Rin asked him if they come again. If they bring more ships, more soldiers. John answered without looking away from the sky. Then we'll do what we always do. What's that? Wake up, make tea, feed Blip, and face it, together. Rin smiled, not because it was easy, but because it was honest. Months later, Rin found an old notebook in the attic and began to write her own story in simple English. Just for herself, page 1. I came to this planet like a falling star, fierce, cold, alone. Now I live in a wooden house with a human who can't cook, a kitten who bites my tail, and peace I never thought I'd find. I'm not a soldier anymore. I'm just Rin, and I'm finally free.